Top of the morning to ya. Today I am going to be showing you how to make Irish stew. It's a really good recipe and it's really not as hard as you would think it would be. With every step I'm only going to do a few of each. That way you don't have to sit there and be bored like, okay, I know how to peel a potato. I don't have to watch you 12 times. And so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first step is you're going to take either a peeler or you're going to take a small cutting knife like a parer. Or pear, I'm not good with pronouncing that word, and you're just going to peel the potato, and you want to make sure you're going out from your body, especially when using the knife, to make sure that you don't accidentally cut your finger or hurt yourself in any way. And for the potatoes, you usually want to use a russet. Okay, so once you're completely done, your potato will obviously look like. And so what I do is I put it back, and this is just a really big bowl of water, and I put it back in there and let it soak. And I go ahead and I take the produce bag, and I just put the scraps into here to make it an easier cleanup. Okay, so now all you're going to do is you're going to take your potato back out. And I'm going to actually stand up for this so my face will not be in the chute. Because it takes a little bit of pressure just because of how thick some of the potatoes are. So you're just going to take your knife. And that's all you're going to do for the potatoes. And so I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest. And then I'll show y'all how to do the carrots. Okay, I'm back. And I went ahead and put all the chopped potatoes, the peeled and chopped potatoes, into this bowl. And I've done a few carrots, but not very many. So at this point, you're going to either peel your 2 carrots or you're going to open your baby carrots. And I usually put them in a line of like 4 just to get it done quicker. And then you'll just twist. And what's hard with the baby carrots sometimes is they do shoot. So you have to really keep them still. And so you'll just chop those up and you'll put them in. I'm going to finish chopping these and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, so here's the carrots as well and with the potatoes. And if you can see me behind me right there, that big red pot. Once I'm done cutting the onions, I will actually pour that into the pot. And before I start doing the onions, I'm going to start cooking the ground beef. And so I'm going to video that and I'll get back. Okay, so here we have the 2 pounds of meat. And I'm just going to add some onion powder. And then I'm going to add some black pepper. And I'm also going to add salt and garlic powder. But I'm going to cook this, and while this is cooking, I'm actually going to chop the onion and get it ready to get in the pan with the meat. So I'll check back over with you at the counter. Okay, so in this part of the video, I'm not going to really be showing my face just because I don't like to be real close to onions when I'm cutting it because I do cry from the smell. So it just says 2 large onions. We got yellow. You can use white. You can use You will brown them with the meat. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and then I'll check back whenever the meat's done and we're adding the onions. Okay, so we're back at the stove, and the meat started to brown, so we're going to go ahead and add in the onion. And so as you can see, there's quite a bit of onion. And you don't have to do this much. It's totally up to you on how much you want to do. And so we're just going to cook this, and we're going to brown the onions and the meat. So I'll check back with you whenever I get this all cooked. Okay, so once you're satisfied with the way that the onions are and the meat, you're just going to drain it. And the way I'm doing this is I've just set up a bowl, and it has a paper towel to get all the grease. And so I'm going to dump the meat, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and with the pan, after you've dumped the meat out and the onions, you're just going to pour chicken broth into the bottom of the pan, just to absorb whatever's left. And you want to bring this to a boil. And right here I'm using about 4 cups. You don't have to bring all 4 cups to a boil. Okay, so as you can see, I'm back, and I already have the potatoes and the carrots in here, and I have about 1 cup to 2 cups of chicken broth. And so I'm just going to dump the meat straight into here. Okay, and it's real easy, and then you just want to take this back out. I'm going to let that start boiling, and then I'll come back and I'll show you dumping that in and adding the spices. Okay, so now that the chicken broth is boiling, I'm just going to add it into here. I'll come back and we'll be putting this in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add all the spices. The first spice is thyme, and with the thyme, they say anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons. A lot of the times I just kind of estimate it. Just a tiny pinch of sage. And then I do a tiny bit of parsley. This actually is not in the recipe. I just love parsley. So I just do a little bitty bit. You want to do like the classic pepper. Then you want to do your salt. You want to do anywhere from 2 to 4 bay leaves. So I'm just going to mix it, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. In your oven, you want to be at 350, and you cook it for about 1.5 hours and check it. And if the potatoes aren't soft yet, then you just do 30 more minutes, and then you'll be ready to serve. There's also a way you can do it on the stovetop, and you would put it in this type of pot, and you would leave it on the stove for 2 hours on a pretty high temperature, but I prefer doing it in the oven. So I'll be back once it is coming out of the oven. Okay, so the soup is done, and you can tell because how easy the potatoes mash. And so I cooked it for about 1.5 hours. Sometimes you have to cook it 2 hours, just depending. And you cook it at 350. And so now you serve it, and the best way to serve it is, of course, right out of the oven. And the best method is, like, once you have it in a bowl, is to smush the potatoes up against the side, and it turns it into this really nice, creamy, potato-y soup. So you know the saying, at the end of a rainbow, it's a pot of gold? Well, actually, it's a pot of Irish stew. It's really cool because Irish stew is actually what the poor people would eat. And instead of ground beef, they would use lamb and whatever pieces they could find. But for this recipe, you can use chunks of lamb or ground beef, whatever floats your boat. And I hope y'all try it because it's really good. But for now, I gotta go and wash dishes, so have a good night.